Tips of the Scale, episode 23.
Welcome to tipsofthescale.com, your home for weight loss motivation. Tune in every week for weight loss success stories from around the world and for expert tips on diet and exercise. And now, your host, Sam Lamelli.
Hey there, Scale Warriors, and thank you so much for joining me again for another episode of Tips of the Scale, your home for weight loss motivation. Are you on our email list? If not, you're missing out on your chance to be entered in some fun contests that are coming your way. Do you want to miss out? I didn't think so. Go to tipsofthescale.com/subscribe to sign up now. And if you enjoy this free podcast, please show your support by going to tipsofthescale.com and clicking on the subscribe in iTunes button at the top of our page. This will send you over to iTunes where you can leave a, hopefully, 5-star rating and review. To show my appreciation for your, hopefully, 5-star rating, I'll give you a shout out at the top of an upcoming show telling the world just how cool you are. Okay, Scale Warriors, let's get started. I'm thrilled to introduce my guest today, Garrett Kersey from Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. Now, Garrett, are you ready to inspire with us today?
Yes, I am.
Right on. Glad to hear it. Now, Garrett is 19 years old and started his weight loss journey at over 500 pounds. Now, he started from a sedentary lifestyle, has found success in his weight loss journey, and I'm really excited to hear it and for him to share it with us today. Now, Garrett, I've given our listeners just a little overview, but go ahead and take a minute to give us a little background on yourself and where you're from.
My name is Garrett Kersey. I'm from Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. I was once 500 pounds. Now I'm sitting at 220. Through a lot of hard work and dedication, just over 2 years, I've been able to accomplish my goals and fix my life.
Right on. So we like to start off Tips of the Scale with a motivational quote to get the inspirational ball rolling. So what do you have for us today?
Expose yourself to your deepest fear. After that, fear has no power, and the fear of freedom shrinks and vanishes. You are free. Jim Morrison.
Jim Morrison. That's a first. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Expose yourself to your fear. How does that quote resonate for you? What was it about your weight loss journey, or maybe starting the weight loss journey, that was about fear for you?
I think it was fear of just rejection, fear of being ridiculed, and just fear in general of people treating you negatively. And you have to face that and go out in the world, and you need to fix whatever problems you have. And if that means delving yourself into your deepest fear, you may have to.
That's very good advice. Speaking of that, what were some of the fears that you faced in your journey? What were some of the challenges or difficulties that you experienced?
Well, to begin, before the weight loss journey, I feared death. Being only 16 years old and over 500 pounds, you kind of worry about where your health is going. I was lucky to not get anything too serious. I was able to fix myself in time, but also fear of just being seen at that obscene weight, especially in this town where everybody is very skinny. Being the only overweight guy in your whole city is just full of fear. Also fear that you'll fail. That's another one that you got to overcome. If you keep thinking you're going to fail, you're probably going to fail. So
very true. I hear very frequently how important the positive mindset is, that even though, going into trying to lose weight, in most cases, you're going to have hiccups. You're probably going to have a couple of setbacks, but as long as you stay positive, you're on the right track, right?
Yes, that's very true.
So Garrett, what were some of the factors you feel contributed to your being overweight, and what was your heaviest point?
It all started when I was about 5 years old. My mother broke up with my dad, and he moved out of the scene completely, pretty much. And my mother was in a state where she was depressed. She had to work 2 jobs to keep us together. So we ate unhealthy, and we didn't think about our health. And she even told me she wanted to keep me happy, and if I had to get McDonald's every day just to keep me happy, she would. So I eventually got really overweight, and then I kept getting bullied, and the more I got bullied, the more I wanted to eat, and the more ridicule I got, the more I wanted to eat. The more I ate, the bigger I got. And eventually I just got so big and got so tired of the bullying, and I fixed that.
It's an awful cycle.
Yes, it is.
I can imagine what that's like at such a young age, especially when you're, still figuring out who you are and getting to know people at school and in your social circles. That's, You don't want to be known as that kid, right?
No.
Yeah,
Not at all.
I can definitely relate to that. And it sounds like your mom had all the right intentions, but, maybe went about it the wrong way. Feeding you the way she did wasn't necessarily to make you gain weight or because she thought you were unhealthy. It was because she was trying to make you happy. It's completely innocent.
Yeah, I don't blame her at all. Yeah. We all go through rough patches in our life. I went through rough patches in my life. She's probably been the biggest motivational factor in me losing all my weight. So
really?
Yes. She also lost about 100 pounds during this journey too.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. How did her experience motivate you, or did it?
It was more like we both worked together on it. I just came out and I was like, all right, I really want to start losing weight. I started doing this and that. She's been trying to lose weight for years, but it's been off and on. So she just decided to follow me, and everything I did, she helped me with, and she did. And some days we'd eat little garbage food here and there, but we still got to the end.
Very cool. So you had kind of a buddy with you all throughout this, and someone close to you that you cared about. That's really cool. Yeah. How important a factor do you think that was in how you did in your success?
I think it was a leading factor in my success, because if I had my mother getting garbage food every day and eating that in front of me and then making me feel bad and just being a terrible nuisance to my journey, then I probably wouldn't be here today. Even when she had like boyfriends and they'd eat pizza in front of me and they wouldn't care, like even that would drive me nuts, and her being supportive helped me a lot.
I can imagine. It's very cool. That's the first time I've interviewed someone who had a parent or a parent figure working with them throughout this. I think that's very cool. So let's take a step back to when you started the journey, or when you decided to take this on. What was the moment for you, Garrett? What was the event or the spark, the thing that made you decide, okay, it's time to take action and lose this weight?
I don't know. I was just at a point in my life where I was sick of hiding. I dropped out of school. I missed a lot of school even when I was in school. I don't even know how I passed some of my years. I just was sitting at home playing video games, screwing around, not really caring about my life, literally waiting to die because I knew I was going to die sooner or later because I'm over 500 pounds and just sitting in my mom's basement doing nothing. Everything's cluttering up. There's mess everywhere, and I just started watching videos of other people losing weight, and I seen that how much fun it could be and how much fun I could have being skinnier, and I just went for it. I thought, it's now or never. If I don't do this now, I could get diabetes, or I could just have a heart attack, I could have a stroke. I need to start now or I'm screwed.
Yeah.
So that's when I woke up and I was like, I'm done. I'm going to start walking. I'm going to start eating healthy. Right then and there, I dropped all the sugar I could, and I never went back.
Very cool. And we're extremely proud of you. It's not an easy thing to do, to drop 20 pounds for some people, 50 pounds, but especially the amount that you have at 280 at this point.
Yeah.
That's a tremendous amount of work and focus and determination. It's not an easy thing at all. And, I want to step back to something you said a second ago that really stood out to me. You said when you were, spending those days away from school, which is already, a pretty serious impact on your life, right? That you're not going to school, you dropped out. Like your weight was clearly, something that was impacting your path in life, your direction in life. And, I heard you say that you knew if you continued on that path, you knew you were going to die. You knew you were going to get sick. You knew diabetes was a possibility.
Yeah, it also runs in my family as well, so I knew it was coming.
That's another one. Yeah. So I would imagine before this deciding moment for you, though, you knew what the outcome is of continuing that lifestyle, right?
Yes.
You knew what would happen. So what do you think was holding you back before that point?
Fear. Goes back to the quote. Yeah. I let fear hold me back.
Yeah, I hear that often. It's a hard thing to overcome, but again, we're really glad that you did. So starting off on your journey, what was the first step? How did you start? What kind of obstacles did you run into early on?
First started pretty funny. I tried to go as hard as possible. Found out 500-pound kid can't really do that much. I learned that pretty quick. So I decided to just start walking. I heard walking's the best. Walking's the most fun. It eases your mind.
Yeah.
So I'd only be able to make it to the end of the corner before I huffed out and had to crawl back. But eventually it got easier and easier as I lost the weight, and now I walk I try to get at least 2 hours a day in.
Very cool.
On top of all my lifting and stuff, so.
That's good. That's some serious determination.
Yeah.
You know, that's good advice too, that you can get all fired up, right? Watch a documentary, read a good book, listen, hear the right song, and go out there and hit the road and go at it 100%. But you can hurt yourself if you jump at it too quickly or too carelessly. So that's a really good point, that you kind of took it easy. You started with walking until I can only assume your body kind of let you know, okay, I'm ready for the next thing.
Yeah, I go pretty hard. Like today I worked out for 4 hours in a fasted state, so I don't really care.
So tell us, that's you touched on something I wanted to ask you about during the interview. So you mentioned a fasted state. So help us. Not all my listeners are familiar with intermittent fasting or with fasting at all. So can you share with us a little bit about what that kind of routine is like, why you do it, and maybe some of the benefits that you've experienced?
Intermittent fasting, this is a hard thing because I would love to recommend it, but it's at the same time it's very stressful and can be very hard to begin with. But what goes on is you stop eating at a certain time in the day for 16 to 22 hours, and then you start eating for 2 to 8 hours, depending on how long you fasted for. Like if you went 16 hours, you'd eat for 8. If you went 22 hours, you'd eat for 2. Sounds like it'd be the other way around, but it can be very stressful on your mind. If you have mental problems or anything, I would not recommend it. It can I've almost fainted a couple times.
Wow.
It's pretty brutal, but once you get into it, it's miracle magic. Your face will start sinking in. You lose weight ridiculously fast. You feel healthier. There's also benefits and strength gains and stuff, and there's a lot of studies that say it's healthier than normal eating. And if you can do it, if you can take that plunge and do it successfully, I recommend it to the fullest. But if you think you have a history of mental problems or something, I do not recommend it one bit.
Really good point, and a fair warning for anyone who's listening to this or has read about intermittent fasting and is considering it. Like any other diet or exercise program, please consult with a physician or someone that can guide you through it or you trust before embarking on this. As you mentioned, there are quite a few benefits, and you mentioned also training in a fasted state, and that's something I see debated very often. So what has been your experience with working out on an empty stomach?
When I first tried it, it was awful. I didn't last more than like 20 minutes, like doing dips or something, then I almost collapsed. But this is the second time I've tried actually working out in a fasted state. I was about 16 hours in when I started. And I did perfectly fine. I'm so used to the fasting now that it doesn't bother me. But I usually eat and then I go work out. But today was a different story, and I did fine. But when you're starting out, you'll drop. That's all I'm saying.
So what is the adjustment period? How long did it take for you to feel like your body had adjusted to the schedule of, not eating for 16 hours and then eating for 8? How did that work for you?
The first couple of weeks were hard. The first couple of days were surprisingly well, but after a couple of days, and then it starts getting extremely hard and like tedious at some points. Just walking for hours or going to school on an empty stomach it's just awful. It feels terrible, but now I can do it like it's nothing. But just over time, your body gets used to it and it gets better.
So before you tried this route, in the past, what kind of other diets or programs did you try that maybe didn't work so well for you?
For the first couple, like 200 pounds, I did the good old eat every 3 hours, eat a lot or eat at your maintenance and all that stuff. And then I went for like low carb or carb cycling. And then I went to fasting. Now I'm doing carb cycling on top of intermittent fasting. Whatever I got to do to win, right?
I've had a little exposure to each of these and done a little bit of each to an extent too. What did you find which one do you think you felt the best at, or which one do you think contributed the most to your success?
I think the eating every 3 hours helped the most. I recommend that the most. If you're starting off at a really high weight or you want to start off, eat every 3 hours. Just eat every 3 hours. I think the secret to it isn't it boosts your metabolism or anything. I think what it does, it just keeps you full all day. You can't overeat because you're full, because you're eating every 3 hours. And then another thing with intermittent fasting, you got to control that. Right when you get off your fasted state and you start eating, you can go nuts and you can go way over your calorie for the day. So I recommend that every 3 hours. I recommend that to everybody. If you want to go insane and start doing crazy stuff, go ahead. I've been called insane a couple times for things I do, but it's all in my health, you know.
It's, I have heard crazier methods and much more dangerous approaches to losing weight, injections and pills and steroids. So everything I'm hearing so far is, it might sound extreme, and I'm sure there are quite a few trainers and probably physicians that might disagree. I think for certain there are people out there that this will not work for, that it's just not for them.
If my old personal trainer knew I was doing this, he'd probably shoot me, but
but just like it worked for you, on the other hand, there are quite a few people out there that this is the right thing for. So it's really important. I think you kind of mentioned it. You tried a couple different approaches. You found the thing that worked for you, and then you stuck with it.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing is listen to your body, know what you're feeling, and then, when you find the one that works for you and you feel good, then stick with it. And you mentioned eating every 3 hours. And so let me ask you about your portion sizes. Was it a full meal, steak and potatoes every 3 hours? What was a typical day's routine of eating and exercising for you during that?
A lot of what I'd do is I'd get like a big meal and then cut it up into smaller sizes and eat parts of it every 3 hours. I'd make sure I didn't go too much of a calorie deficiency. Mm-hmm. But I made sure to eat every 3 hours, keep myself full. I also recommend eating a lot of fats in your diet. Don't listen to the old school weight loss thing where fat is bad. Fat is a great tool in your body. But yeah, keep away from the carbs. Have higher fats, higher proteins.
I've heard that before too, and there's quite a substantial body of research now that is kind of changing what people believed in the past, right? You hit the nail on the head. You said that, the old school approach was that anything that had fat made you fat. And, we're learning, and your experience and many other people out there like you are learning that that's just not the case. There are different kinds of fat, and there are the ones that are actually way more beneficial for you. And for any men who are lifting weights or are having any kind of concerns with testosterone, fats are healthy fats, right? Things like in avocados and tree nuts and things like that are the kinds of things that can help testosterone production in your body. It's actually a requirement.
Yeah.
What is a typical day's intake for you? What is your calorie consumption? Maybe the breakdown of macronutrients. Like how much fat are you consuming in a day?
I just make sure to keep it low on carbs. Some days I go over. Some days I keep it fairly low. I eat a lot of nuts. I eat a lot of seeds and a lot of nuts like crazy, and a lot of fish. I love those foods. They help me a lot. They make me feel great. I stick with them, and I love it.
Now, you mentioned the nuts and seeds, and it's not unusual or uncommon that you felt really great eating those because they have, fat has more calories per gram than protein or carbohydrates. So you have greater amount of physical energy in your body, but because they also are packed with fiber, your body isn't just hanging on to it.
Yeah, so all you do is win when you're eating nuts.
It's really, really good advice. And I know you've probably heard about paleo. Or the paleo lifestyle and the paleo diets. And that's one of the things that is part of the approach is sticking to things that are either not processed or minimally processed. And things like seeds and tree nuts and things like that are not processed at all, right? They're as close to nature as you can possibly get. So again, healthy fats, things that come out of the earth and are good for you, good for your body. Very good. Very cool.
Yep.
So Garrett, when you were starting this out, you mentioned that your mother was kind of your buddy throughout the process and a helpful figure throughout it. Who else, did you tell that did you tell anyone that you were trying to lose weight? And if so, who and, what kind of reactions did you get?
I told people I played with online. They didn't really know I was 500 pounds, and I finally told them. They're like, holy crap. Or they seen pictures of me. I also have my best buddy, Ben. He's been my friend since grade school. He's been pretty helpful. He was actually probably one of my only friends I ever got in grade school, as depressingly sad as that sounds, but whatever. He was like, it's quality over quantity, right?
Absolutely.
And, he's been pretty supportive. He laughs at me every time I try something new. He's like, oh my gosh, here he goes again. I was actually just talking to him before we did this. Yeah, I told a few people. Whenever I told anybody at school that I lost all that weight, their jaws hit the floor, and then thought it was crazy. But yeah, it was mostly my mother and Ben and a few friends online.
Very cool. Now, did you run into anyone who was pessimistic about your trying to lose weight, or maybe tried to talk you out of it, or suggested, unhealthy approaches, anything like that?
Not necessarily. I don't think you sometimes have those guys who have a really bad day, and they're like, "Oh, that's stupid. Oh, that's silly. You don't need to go to that. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. There's really no benefit in it. Just if you want to be fat and happy, be fat and happy." And it's like, I don't know. I want to be healthy. That's my goal. I'm healthy, or I'm happy or healthy, and that's the way I'm gonna go. I didn't let them bother me.
Good for you. And that's a good approach, is to approach it from a mindset of not necessarily just losing the weight, but getting healthy, right? That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Very cool. So kind of on that subject, what is one of the most surprising things you learned about diet or exercise throughout this?
I think I mentioned this in one of the comments on the Reddit post, but I learned that just because you're losing weight doesn't really change how people see you. That's one thing I learned the most, is it's all about confidence in the end. It's not about how you look. The losing the weight gives you lots of confidence, and it helps a lot. But I found it in the end, if you're a cocky douche or something, you're still gonna be a cocky douche even if you're skinny or something.
So the change is inside and out, but it doesn't fix everything sometimes.
No, it does not at all.
So what was something that you learned about yourself throughout this process?
That I'm capable of a lot of things. That's one thing I learned the most, is I'm very capable. I have a very strict mindset of just keep going, no matter what. And that's one thing I love about myself, is if I want to do something, if I want something, I'll go for it. I don't back down. I don't try to find an easier way to something. I just do it. And I think that's a mindset that a lot of people should have. It's a mindset that a lot of people lack these days. And it's a great mindset to have.
Definitely a powerful tool too, to have the mental focus and discipline, I think, is the perfect word. The discipline,
discipline. Yeah.
To stay on top of what you're eating and your schedule and your routine. I mean, you said you worked out 2 hours today. There was a day that you worked out for 4 hours. I heard you say that's serious discipline.
No, I worked out for 4 hours today in a fasted state. That's what I said.
In a fasted state.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could count it as 2 hours or 2 hours working out and 2 hours walking. But I don't know if you count walking as a workout. If you did, it's 4 hours, but I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 2 hours of walking is a stretch for some people out there. So that's a good place to start, just like it was for you. And it's definitely, anything that gets you moving is a good thing. So I want to transition here, Garrett, to kind of talking about, where you are today and the future and what your advice is for other people. So the first thing I want to ask you, though, kind of to transition here, is if you could go back in time and tell yourself something, anything at the beginning of your journey, what would you say?
Well, first I just tell them to start walking, because walking is important. Walking is very therapeutic and it's very helpful. You lose a lot of weight from that, but I also tell them you need to keep strong. You need to face your fears. You can't let anything hold you back. You can't have that one random bully at school treat you like crap and let him have control over you and what you do. You can't let people push you away into a corner where you just wait there and die. You just gotta stand up for yourself. That's the main thing I tell everybody, just stand up for yourself. Because in the end, it's all about you and how you perceive yourself. And nobody is really gonna help you unless you help yourself.
That's good advice. And I think you touched on something that's really powerful, and I want to repeat it. And that's that one person's opinion on you or their judgment of you or your lifestyle or what you look like or any of that should not in any way determine your future or your health or how you live your life, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you did this for you, and you're your own worst critic in a lot of cases, and I've heard other people say you are your own best cheerleader. Right.
Yeah, that's correct, actually.
So you mentioned the tip to start walking immediately, and that's I think some great advice, and it worked for you, and again something that would be very useful for anyone who's just trying to get started out today.
It'll help you the most if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't really started exercising yet, please walk. Walking is very important. Walking is quite possibly the best thing you can do. It won't like destroy your joints or anything if you're older. It won't hurt you. It's very therapeutical. You could be having the worst day of your life and you can go for a good 1 hour walk with headphones in and you'll feel like $1,000,000. I recommend walking to everybody. If you walk just an hour a day, you will lose weight like it's nothing.
Fantastic. That's some great advice and a great tip for our listeners out there. And I would recommend when you throw those headphones on, putting on this podcast and listening to it when you take a walk through the neighborhood. Here you are 280 pounds later. I mean, I think it's amazing what consistency does and that your story and stories like it can motivate other people.
I'll say again, I didn't always go to the gym. For a long time, I had to rely on only walking, just 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day. And I lost a lot of my weight just from walking. I probably lost more weight just walking than I do now, but now I eat a lot more calories and stuff. And sometimes I go through like bulking phases, but walking is important. It's the most important thing, and I will keep stressing that so you get it through your mind that is very important.
It's great advice. It really is. And like you said, it's a relaxing therapeutic thing. And I like that you said you did that before you went to a gym. So anyone out there who's saying, well, I can't afford a gym. There's not one close to me, or I'm afraid, I experience the fear of going in there and being looked at, being judged or made fun of. You can just walk, right? No gym membership required. Just go out your front door, go in your backyard, pace. Whatever you got to do, just walk.
I had like a routine where I'd go from my house to the school to downtown, through downtown, all the way back home. And if you want to make it your walking distance even further, instead of stopping at the light, stop at the next corner to turn right or whatever. Just keep modifying it and making it longer and longer, and it should help you.
That's interesting. So you kind of mentally tell yourself, okay, one more block or one more street. That's very cool. I think that's really important, is continually challenging yourself like that. That's really good advice. So Garrett, what's your goal now? Now that you are at 220, what's your goal now? Maintenance, continue losing. I heard you're lifting weights and doing some bulking here and there. What does your routine look like today?
My routine looks like, I do the Hugh Jackman workout, which is a bunch of 5x5 sets, which is you go 5 reps for 5 sets. And it's a very long workout. It takes like 2 to 3 hours just to do the lifting part. And then you got the cardio, and then I have to walk home and walk to the gym. So it's a pretty long process. I do it fairly often. I try to do it every day, or some days every other day. And you have those times where you can't really go to the gym, you're busy or something, and you take like a 3-day break, but it's not too often. But I keep pretty consistent. I at least go to the gym at least 5 times a week. My goal right now, I just want to become the sexiest mofo ever, right?
There's nothing wrong with that. And it sounds like you've got the discipline and the drive for sure to get there. You've had some amazing success so far, and best of luck on continuing it. So
yeah, I didn't have as much of a boost until I posted that Reddit thread, and everybody was saying I was like a supermodel or something, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to keep going.
So Garrett's referring to actually one of the threads where we met online, and there was this conversation where he shared his progress so far, and you got some fantastic feedback from other readers, and
oh yeah,
some really great confidence boosting. For one, just putting yourself out there, and you had a before and after picture, and some people are scared to death of that, and that takes guts. But you put it out there, and you showed everybody how hard you'd worked and where you are now. And it paid off. I mean, you're at 220 now, and you got some great comments. And
yeah, I even got girls playing video games with me now, guys. It's great.
It's a 180 from where you started, right, my friend? You're in a much better place, I think, as a result of your work and your discipline. So kudos to you on that.
Thanks.
So what are some, for our listeners, what are some resources that you might be able to recommend online, or, websites, apps, videos, books, that kind of thing?
Ooh, I'm going to go nuts here.
Right.
Elliot Hulse for sure. If you guys don't know who Elliot Hulse is, he is a genius. He's helped me so much. Just look up Elliot Hulse on YouTube, watch all his videos. If you wanna laugh, look up the Hodge twins. I bet most of you guys probably already watched the Hodge twins. And I would like to recommend, if you live in the Sarnia area, Ironworks, go to that gym. Everybody there is excellent. Cam, the owner, is one of the greatest guys I know, and my old personal trainer, Tim, he is an amazing trainer and he's an amazing guy. And I would like to thank him for helping me get to where I am today. Yeah, that's what I'd recommend.
Very cool. I will add links to the show notes to the videos you mentioned and to the gym as well, and make sure that our listeners can find the resources that you mentioned. So thanks for sharing those. Those are cool.
Yep.
So I have kind of a fun question. I like to ask this. What's a song or an artist that you're listening to lately, or that's on your gym playlist, that gets you fired up for your workouts?
Oh, I listen to the album 10 by Pearl Jam literally every day, once or twice every day. Cause it's such a great, playlist of songs. It starts off with Once. It's like really, really slow, then it gets really intense. Then it keeps the intensity through to, Even Flow. You guys all probably heard Even Flow. Then it goes to Alive. And that solo on Alive, I literally just shoot, like, just even the message of the song just fires you up. And that's most of my cardio. If I want to do a quick cardio, I just do the first 3 songs on the 10 album. And once I hit Alive, I'm running at like superhuman speeds and at elliptical and that. I'm going nuts because that solo on top of the message of the song, oh my gosh, I can't even express it enough. Or I'll listen to a lot of Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Oh, the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, by Red Hot Chili Peppers. Listen to that a lot. I listen to a lot of Hendrix and The Doors, obviously, because I did that quote.
Right.
I've been playing guitar for a bit now, and
I kind of guessed
singing
that.
for a bit too. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I heard some classic rock in there, and definitely some very influential 90s music. Very, very cool. Very cool.
I could give you a link to a Facebook video of me playing guitar at a thing.
Yeah, if you
want to see that.
Yeah, I'll link that up in the show notes.
Yeah, that's my little thing at high school is I play the guitar in the hallways every day. And people come by, and that's how I got my first girlfriend, is I play guitar for her.
I think that is a tried and true classic method that's worked throughout the ages, my friend. That's good.
Yep.
But again, look at you. I mean, doing something as brave as putting yourself out there and showcasing your talent. Like, that's something that someone with confidence does. So again, I think where you are today, after your transformation, all the work that you've put in, like, that's a good place to be. From the guy who was in the basement playing video games, dropping out of school, like you're in a much better place now, it sounds like.
Yes.
Very cool.
I would never want to go back to where I was. I can't stress that enough. It was pretty bad, but
you're in a much better place now, Garrett, and I hope that your story and just hearing the energy in your voice that I hear right now is something that resonates with someone or some group of people out there listening to this who could relate to what you felt like at the beginning of your journey, and can hear, the excitement and the optimism in your voice now. And, I think anyone can get there.
Oh, I'm extremely tired right now. If I was awake, you'd probably cancel the podcast by now.
Well, I'm very glad that you've had such great success, and I'm glad you came on today. What is one parting piece of advice, Garrett, that you'd like to share with our listeners?
One word: walk.
Absolutely. All right, Garrett, it's been a pleasure. You have a fantastic story and a fantastic mindset. I like how disciplined you are and just how positive you are at this point. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
You can add me on Facebook, Garrett Vance Kersey. I put my middle name in there to look more professional, When you're playing guitar, you gotta do that. You can also add me on League of Legends or other games with my username Madcap Kersey, no spaces. I use that one a lot. I also use Bimbis Bonzo. That was my Reddit name. So I use those usernames and my real name for everything. Very cool. Well, Garrett, again, sincerely, thank you so much for your time and the gift of your story. This has been a great interview, and I'm really psyched at
all the progress we've seen, and I wish you best of luck continuing with your work and with your guitar playing. And so again, Gary, thanks a million, and we'll see you around. Take care.
No problem. Anytime. Take care.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today on Tips of the Scale. Head on over to tipsofthescale.com for recaps of every show, links to all the helpful resources mentioned, and more. Here's to your weight loss success.